Hey Raider Nation, today we're diving into the biggest winners and losers in the Las Vegas Raiders position groups. Let's be real, this roster looks worlds different compared to last season. There's fresh talent, new signings, and a few holes that stand out, so if you came for a straight-up breakdown, you found the right place. Let's get into it. First off, it's strong safety. Snap a picture of Jeremy Chin in action during this offseason and you'll see why that room is trending upward. They signed him to a 2-year deal, and after watching him perform under Dan Quinn, the same guy who learned under Pete Carroll, I have high hopes. The Raiders have already been using Chin in that hybrid Robert Spillane-style mobile strong safety role, which fits perfectly in Patrick Graham's scheme. Compared to what we had last year, Marcus Epps and Isaiah Pola-Mao-Chan is the clear upgrade. I still like Lonnie Johnson and appreciate Trey Taylor as depth, but Chin's presence gives the strong safety spot a noticeable edge this season. Next up, the tight end group. Maybe it's less flashy, but hear me out, this group looks stronger now than it ever has. Michael Mayer is entering his 3rd year out of Notre Dame, and I'm expecting a leap from him this season. Then there's Brock Bowers. He may not match last year's stats, but year to tight ends usually improve, and I'm betting that's exactly what happens. Shurian Thomas isn't Harrison Bryant, but the overall depth is deeper. There's a real chance Ishmael gets a roster spot too. Combined, Mayer and Bowers form a tandem that gives this tight end room a serious boost. Moving on to wide receiver, yes, they had Davante Adams last year, but I'm still taking this year's group. Trey Tucker is entering year 3 and came into camp in beast mode. I wouldn't be surprised if he carves out a role similar to what Tyler Lockett once had in Seattle. The Raiders also took Jack Bost in the 2nd round, and Dante Dorton Jr. is already generating buzz. Tommy Mellott might take some time to develop, but he's shown promise on special teams too. Then you add Jacoby Myers, probably not as talented as Adams, but a better fit for Luke Gatzey's offense. And yes, I'll stand on it, I'll take Myers over Adams on this team any day of the week. Now quarterback. This was neck and neck with the top group, but I've got to give the nod here to QB. Geno Smith is a massive upgrade over Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell. Honestly, he might be the best quarterback to wear silver and black since Derek Carr in 2016. We're talking top 10 upside in the league. Then don't sleep on Aidan O'Connell. He's arguably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He matters. And Cam Miller as a 3rd quarterback, he's a project, sure, but he's been reliable in practices and on the practice squad. He's a better developmental fit than Desmond Ridder was. So yes, the QB room is strong. But number 1, the biggest offseason winner hands down, is the running back room. The Raiders were dead last in rushing last year, just 3.6 yards per carry, and bottom of the league in rushing yards per game. No surprise they overhauled that group. They took Ashton Gentry with the 6th overall pick and signed Raheem Mostert, whose relationship with Chip Kelly runs deep. They grabbed the best running back in the draft, and I'm already counting him among the top 5 backs in the league. Gentry alone is a huge step up from Zamir White. Then there's the depth. Mostert and Sincere McCormick are serious upgrades over Dylan Lobb and Amir Abdullah. Yes, we miss Alexander Madison, but when I compare the top 3 this year to last year's, the difference is night and day. We went from worst to arguably one of the league's best. That right there makes this running back room the biggest winner of the offseason. Let's flip the coin now and talk about the other side of the offseason. The biggest losers in terms of position groups for the Las Vegas Raiders. Not everything that happened over the past few months was a step forward. Some moves left holes, others didn't pan out, and a few groups actually regressed. And as much as it hurts to admit it, we've got to keep it real if we want to understand where this team stands heading into the new season. Let's kick things off with the offensive guard spot. I know some people are going to scratch their heads on this one, but let me explain why it's taken a hit. The Raiders went out and brought in Alex Kappa, a familiar face to some in the front office. But if you look at the tape and the numbers, Kappa was arguably the worst starting offensive guard in the league last year who actually played a full season. That's not the kind of upgrade you hope for. And while the team did draft Caleb Rogers in the 3rd round, and I like Rogers, don't get me wrong, he's still raw. Everything I've heard says he needs time to marinate, and he's not ready to go just yet at the pro level. But the bigger reason why the guard group took a step back is what happened with Jackson Power Johnson. Last season, JPJ gave you over 500 snaps at left guard. This year, he's moving full-time to center. That's a big shift. Sure, overall the offensive line might be more balanced now, but if you just look at the guard duo going from JPJ And Dylan Parham to Kappa, and insert any name here, whether it's Jordan Meredith or McClendon Curtis. That's a downgrade, no doubt about it. Next, we've got to talk about the cornerbacks. This one might stir some debate because there's a mix of new faces and rising players. But it's fair to say this group got thinner, especially in the nickel role. Nate Hobbs is gone and his absence is huge. He was a cornerstone of that secondary, especially in the slot. Now you're looking at Darnay Holmes trying to fill that role, and I'll be honest, that makes me nervous. Patrick Graham might get creative, maybe using safeties like Thomas Harper in that nickel spot. But it's a gamble. Look at the top three corners now. Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, and Jacorian Bennett. Compare that to last year with Hobbs, Jack Jones, and Bennett. Depending on how you rank those players, some might say it's even, but I'd argue it's a step back. Simply because Hobbs was that important. He brought experience, physicality, and leadership. Losing him and not replacing him with a true starting level nickel makes this secondary less reliable. Now linebacker. This one stings. Robert Spillane was more than just a tackling machine. He was the heart and soul of the defense. When a guy wears the green dot, he's essentially your on-field coach. Spillane's leadership mattered both on and off the field, and now he's in New England. That's not a loss you can shrug off. Sure, the Raiders brought in Jermaine Pratt and Landon Roberts. They're solid players. But in Patrick Graham's system, Spillane just fit better. If I'm ranking the four, Spillane, Pratt, Roberts, and Divine Diablo, I'm putting Spillane first. Pratt comes next, then Roberts, and finally Diablo. Divine is a freak athlete, no doubt, but he still plays more like an oversized safety than a true linebacker. And sometimes, especially in this system, you just want someone who can shed blocks and fill gaps, not fly around aimlessly. Even if the overall depth is about the same as last year, the loss of Spillane, the captain, the communicator, makes this linebacker group a clear loser. Filling that void in the locker room is going to be just as tough as replacing what he did on Sundays. Now let's look at defensive tackle. At first glance, it doesn't seem like a loss. After all, the team brought in Christian Wilkins, right? But here's the catch. Wilkins isn't 100%. Whether it's now or after the season, he's expected to need a second surgery. That means you're likely getting 70 to 80% of Wilkins, not the guy you thought you signed in March. And even at 70%, he's still the best DT on this team. But that says more about the lack of depth behind him than anything else. Adam Butler was resigned, which helps, but the only other notable move was adding Lucky Fotu. That's not exactly a game-changing acquisition. There's some excitement around guys like J.J. Pegas and Takaris McKinley, but let's be real. They're not ready to contribute at a high level yet. And not bringing back John Jenkins, that was a miss. Yes, he's older, but he brought toughness and reliability. Without him and without a fully healthy Wilkins, this defensive tackle room is in a sketchier spot than fans might want to admit. Finally, the biggest loser of all, free safety. This has been the most glaring hole all offseason, and nothing's changed. Trevin Moehrig is gone, and while I understand not matching the offer Carolina gave him, nearly $60 million over 3 years, the Raiders still haven't done anything to replace him. You've got Isaiah Polamau and Thomas Harper trying to fill the void, and while both have potential, they're not ready to anchor a defense as starting caliber free safeties. This position feels like a neglected house you walk by every day. You know it needs work, but nobody's willing to fix it. Free agency came and went, the draft passed, and still names like Justin Simmons and Julian Blackmon are sitting out there on the open market. If this coaching staff truly believes in winning now, they're going to have to address this spot. Because as it stands, the Raiders might have the worst free safety room in the entire NFL. And that's not an exaggeration. So while we've seen some great improvements across the board, from the backfield to the quarterback room, we've also seen some clear red flags. And if this team wants to take a real step forward this season, they can't afford to overlook the holes that still remain. Now that we've broken down both the biggest winners and the most concerning losers in the Raiders position groups, there's still more ground to cover. Because beyond who looks better on paper or who lost talent, it's about how these units function together. The chemistry, the leadership, and the impact of key moves that sometimes fly under the radar. And when you zoom out, you start to see where this roster could either surprise people or fall short when it matters most. Let's talk about special teams. A unit that doesn't always get the spotlight, but can win or lose games in an instant. Right now, the kicking game seems steady with Daniel Carlson still doing his thing. He's one of the most consistent legs in the league, and as long as he stays healthy, there's not much to worry about there. Same goes for punter A.J. Cole, who continues to be an elite field position weapon. But where special teams could quietly be a concern is in the return game. There's talent on the roster, sure, but is there a true game breaker who can flip the field consistently? Trey Tucker could fill that role, and he's shown flashes. But if he takes on a larger offensive load, do the Raiders risk overusing him? That's a fine line to walk, and with special teams, it's those tiny decisions that swing momentum in key moments. Another aspect people often overlook is the coaching staff's influence on these positional changes. Luke Getsy coming in as the offensive coordinator marks a major shift in how this offense is going to operate. Scheme matters, and while guys like Jacoby Myers might thrive in this new system, there's always an adjustment period. Players have to unlearn one playbook and absorb another. Timing gets disrupted. Miscommunication happens. Even the best talents can look out of sync when systems change. That's why some of the position groups labeled as winners may still stumble out of the gate if the coaching transition isn't smooth. And on the defensive side, Patrick Graham's role becomes even more critical. He's working with a lot of new faces and even more unknowns. The safety rotation, the cornerback pecking order, the linebacker pairings, they all require cohesion. It's one thing to have athletes. It's another to have guys who understand leverage positioning, communication, and the nuances of a system that doesn't always run straightforward coverages. Graham leans heavily on versatility, especially with hybrid roles in the secondary. That puts pressure on guys like Isaiah Polamau and Thomas Harper to be more than just fill-ins. They have to be smart, reliable, and fast in decision-making, and if they're not, opposing offenses will exploit those gaps all day long. Leadership on this team is also a work in progress. Losing vocal presences like Robert Spillane and Nate Hobbs means someone has to step up. Geno Smith brings experience and maturity, but he's still new to the locker room. He'll need to earn trust quickly, especially from young players who look to the quarterback as the emotional anchor of the squad. Defensively, Max Crosby continues to lead by example, but leadership isn't just about playing hard. It's about getting others to raise their level too. If this team wants to contend, new leaders must emerge fast. And finally, there's the intangible factor of identity. What kind of team are the Raiders trying to be? Last year, they struggled to run the ball, didn't play with enough physicality, and often found themselves reacting instead of dictating. That has to change if this new roster, especially with the additions in the backfield and under center, can commit to a tougher, more disciplined, and smarter brand of football. They've got the tools to surprise some people. But if it's more of the same, mental mistakes, lack of situational awareness, and failure to close out games, then even the winning position groups won't be enough to carry the team. Every single unit matters, and how they complement one another will be the deciding factor. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Las Vegas might be turning into the new epicenter of the NFL. Whispers around the league are getting louder, and if the rumors are even halfway true, the Raiders are making moves that could send shockwaves through the AFC. According to sources close to the situation, there's growing buzz that the Raiders are finalizing blockbuster deals to bring in 3 superstar names: cornerback Jalen Ramsey, pass rusher Von Miller, and wide receiver Tyreek Hill. While no official statements have been released, insiders are pointing to unusual activity from the Raiders front office, suggesting that the franchise is preparing for a dramatic shift. Jalen Ramsey, long considered one of the premier lockdown corners in the league, would instantly give the Raiders secondary a major upgrade. Even with his recent injury woes, Ramsey's presence alone could redefine how opposing offenses approach the Las Vegas defense. Von Miller, despite his age, still commands attention as a future Hall of Famer with a knack for delivering in big moments. Pairing him with the Raiders' existing defensive talent could turn their pass rush into one of the most feared units in the league. And then there's Tyreek Hill, arguably the most explosive weapon in football today. If the speedster is indeed heading to Vegas, it could spell trouble for every secondary in the NFL. His ability to stretch the field and change the game in a single play would transform the Raiders' offense overnight. Skeptics are quick to point out the salary cap implications and the logistical hurdles of such monumental acquisitions. But the Raiders have shown they're not afraid to swing big, especially in an era where aggressive roster building is often rewarded. Could this be part of a bold new vision under the current leadership, or is this just off-season noise amplified by wishful thinking and social media speculation? For now, fans in Las Vegas and across the league will have to wait and see if the silver and black are really about to go all in. One thing's for sure, if these rumors materialize, the Raiders won't just be making headlines. They'll be making history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.